What's going on, everybody? Jarrett Bailey here on Black and Gold Breakdown. There's a lot that I want to talk about right now. You see the title of the video, and there's been a lot of stuff going on the past 24 hours in terms of George Pickens stuff. So, first of all, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not already subscribed, do that. That would be great. The Steelers lost last night to the Dallas Cowboys 20-17. And the thing that stood out to me most, outside of the defense, outside of everything that happened in the second half with the defense allowing two 15-play drives to end in touchdowns, outside of the offense continuing to be less than optimal and starting slow, it was pretty evident early on, and I saw, myself thinking this. I saw, a lot of your favorite guys, Farabah and DB. We're talking about where's Pickens? Did he do something? Is he in the doghouse? Like what's going on? Because there was plenty of plays where the Steelers would go 11 personnel, 12 personnel, and like their two receivers on the field were Calvin Austin and Van Jefferson. And if you look at the snap counts after the game, Van Jefferson, I believe, had 48 snaps. Calvin Austin had 44. George Pickens had 34 snaps. And Tomlin was asked about it after the game, and he said, it's a snap management. Like, okay, Mike. Yeah. So either you doing snap management, which is horrible coaching and makes zero sense, or there's something more going on behind the scenes, which everybody and their mother can see through right now. And that was compounded today when Brooke Pryor of ESPN tweeted George Pickens didn't talk to the media after the game last night, and he didn't talk to the media today, which goes against the NFL's media policy, where players have to be available to the media to speak. He was not. There's something going on here. And if you watched any of the All-22 back, or maybe you just saw it during the game, a clear lack of effort was obvious from Pickens, where he's just half-assed jogging through his routes. He had a ball thrown to him on a crosser that if he showed any sort of extra effort in trying to catch, he would have caught it, and it would have been a big gain. All while he's wearing eye black that says, "Open effing always," which I'm sure Mike Tomlin loved. And now, when you go back and watch the tape of the game, I rewatched it this morning, it's brutal. Like, he is taking plays off. He took this entire game off. And look, we've talked about Pickens and his maturity issues over the past year. Remember last year he did all the, passive aggressive social media stuff, and then he pretended like it was nothing and that everybody else was crazy for reading into it. Multiple just tantrums on the field. There's some other stuff going on behind the scenes about, potentially being late to meetings a lot. And, the talent is clearly there, which is why, the Steelers have done their best to try and hone in on it and try to, get him, mold him into something more and, get him on track to, be responsible and be more mature. And maybe they just do not see that happening. Maybe they view it as a lost cause, because you don't intentionally not play, not just your best receiver, the only receiver on your roster that comes close to being a number one in an offense. You had Justin Fields throwing deep back shoulder balls to Van Jefferson, which he dropped because it's Van Jefferson, not Justin Jefferson. His two top targets last night are Van Jefferson and Connor Hayward, because George Pickens isn't in the game. There's something else up here. And in a week where the Steelers are rumored to be making aggressive offers for Devontae Adams, and now they lose their second straight game. Now again, all of this isn't new. Remember last year against New England, he throws a fit in the end zone when he doesn't get the ball thrown to him. Or maybe he had the ball thrown to him and it was just a bad throw. I can't remember the exact, but he throws a fit. And they lose the game. And afterwards, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Cam Hayward, they don't say names, but they're talking about how guys are entitled and don't do the necessary work in practice. And it shows up on game day because they don't put in the work in practice. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to connect those dots. Like, this is something with Pickens that feels like it's been brewing for the last year. And it could come to a head with them just outright getting rid of him and saying, good riddance. They weren't afraid to get rid of Deontay Johnson, who, say what you want about Deontay Johnson. You know, everything that happened in Cincinnati last year where he, you know, didn't dive on the fumble or whatever. You know, he's been a little bit chippy with media at times. Deontay Johnson was a pretty good receiver, a legit number one guy for the Steelers. I bet you wish that they still had him. Because outside of Pickens, they don't have anybody. And they were more than willing to move on from Deontay Johnson, who is, in my opinion, right now still a more, might not be as explosive, in terms of, you know, the big downfield catches and everything like that. But in terms of everything that it takes to be a number one receiver, I mean, Deontay Johnson was that for the Steelers, and they were willing to move on from him without having any sort of backup plan. And Pickens has done nothing to really get better in terms of maturity, to show that he's ready to take that next step and be that true, not just, you know, go-to receiver, because he has taken steps towards that, but the maturity issue is still there. And they moved on from Deontay Johnson, who was much less of an issue when it comes to that type of stuff. So my guess is that they trade him. Just my guess right now. I don't have any sort of like inside knowledge. No one's telling me anything. I'm not going to pretend I have anything like that. This is just a gut feeling and reading the tea leaves. Mike Tomlin, snap management. Oh, okay. Intentionally leaving your best offensive player off the field in a close game when your quarterback, who is doing all he can with what you're giving him, you're giving him Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, and Connor Hayward and saying, good luck. And to his credit, Fields led them down the field and gave him a lead with that bad core of weapons. That's not to say that Justin Fields played great. I think it was probably his worst game as a Steeler, but even then, he wasn't god-awful. So I think as of right now, again, this is just a guess, they end up moving him. Where that might be, I don't know. Maybe the Chargers. God knows they could use help at receiver. Maybe the Chiefs, God willing. Let's hope that doesn't happen. So, and look, my guess is if they do that, that means that they know they're going to be getting Davante Adams. I think they won't do that until they bring in somebody like a Davante Adams. And even if it's not Adams, if they can go get somebody else to replenish that number one role, like, I feel like they're going to bring in somebody else and then immediately get rid of Pickens. Or they'll include Pickens in a trade for Davante Adams. I don't know. These are just purely guesses. But in terms of why I think he's going to be traded, just read the tea leaves. Stuff dating from last year. Maturity being an issue. That clearly hasn't gotten better. Purposely keeping him off the field in a close game and putting inferior players on the field. Like, come on, man. There's something to that. Mike Tomlin can call it snap management all he wants. Okay, Mike. Credit to Mike Tomlin. Like, very few things ever get, like, leaked out of Pittsburgh, I would say. Last January, we saw that happen with the whole Kenny Pickett thing, where it was revealed that he, like, refused to dress as the backup to Mason Rudolph in Seattle. but read the tea leaves. I think they're trading him. Now, that also means that, hey, they might be getting like a big, if they get Devontae Adams, I'm thrilled. If the trade-off for trading George Pickens is Devontae Adams, sign me up. I don't care how old he is. He's still damn good. And then you turn your attention to draft somebody next year. And hopefully this one that you draft doesn't turn up to be a head case, like apparently every other receiver that they draft does. So we'll see. But that's just my guess as of right now, what they do. Can't caption these like that. Yeah, no, this is me just, I'm assuming they are going to trade him. So sorry for, none of this is confirmed. This is me just theorizing. See you, Pickens. The offseason where I said take Brian Thomas Jr. to look at the Evan Stewart guy. I mean, I don't know who the Evan Stewart guy is, but yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. has been good. Maybe they should have thought about that. You think maybe limit his snaps to avoid possible injury because he's possibly involved in trade talks? I think that could be part of it. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm hinting at, and I think a lot of it too is like they're just done with this crap. That's just my guess. Like, you don't keep a guy off the field unless you're punishing him, looking to trade him, or like a weird combination of both. Because if they're finally just fed up with them, we're like, okay, fine, we're not going to play you, and we're going to look to trade you. Like, we're just done. That's just my guess as to what's happening. Again, I don't have any sort of inside knowledge about what's going on in the building. I'm just reading the writing on the wall right now. The lack of effort on the field, the lack of maturity, which, by the way, reared its ugly head at the end of the game when he just pulled Jordan Lewis down by his face mask. He's going to get fined at minimum for that. Like, man. And again, all of this, to me at least, stems back to last year when he's throwing fits on social media, clearing the social media of anything Steelers related, insinuating that everybody else is crazy for reading into it, throws a temper tantrum on the field against New England. And then Minka Fitzpatrick and Cam Hayward both are like, yeah, there's a little bit of an entitlement in this locker room. People think that just because they show up and are talented, that means that they are going to be able to get the ball. Like, you don't got to be a rocket scientist to read through who they're talking about. Fields is horrific. That needs to end. I mean, Fields played fine. Fields has been solid. He hasn't been great, but you look at all the numbers, he's played fine. So I got nothing against Fields whatsoever. I think against Indy, he really put the team on his back in the second half. I think yesterday, again, as they always do, the offense starts slow. I think the play calling hasn't been great from Arthur Smith the last 2 weeks, but Fields has been fine. I have very few bad things to say about Fields. I think he's played at his best really well, at his worst, a C. I think that's probably the worst grade I would give him. Last night was like a C, and even then, didn't turn the ball over. Threw 2 touchdowns, led him on a 12-play drive to take the lead late, and his defense let him down. Now, granted, the offense wasn't great last night. I'm not saying that Fields was perfect, but look at who he's throwing to. He had multiple drops, again, on big plays. Connor Hayward dropped one, and Van Jefferson dropped one. Fields is playing fine. I don't know if you mentioned it, but would you trade him for Deontay? Yeah, I would. I don't think it would be a straight one-for-one thing. I'm sure both teams would throw like draft picks and whatnot in, but yeah, if a trade involving Pickens, look, Diana Rossini said Omar Khan's going to put an aggressive offer on the table for Devontae Adams. If that offer is like, hey, we'll throw in George, and I don't know, a 4th George, a 4th, a 7th this year, and like a day 2 pick in 2026 or whatever it may be. But you have to take on a lot of his salary this year, and whatever else it may be, then sure, yeah. I would be okay with that. At this point, I'm just kind of fed up with it too, you know? So if it ends up getting Devontae Adams, then yeah, sign me up. I said DK because I don't think he's enjoying his time in Seattle either. I mean, Seattle's not doing horrible. They shouldn't have lost yesterday, but man. I mean, Seattle's fine. DK's getting his targets. He's scoring touchdowns. I think DK's fine. I don't think he's going anywhere. What happens to Pickensburg if they do trade him? I don't know, man. I don't socialize with Pickensburg on here. Starting Russ this week to see if he does with George Pickens. Guys, I don't know what your what do you think that Russ is going to do that Justin Fields can't or hasn't? Fields has played fine. Of all the things wrong with the Steelers, Justin Fields is way down that list. He's played fine. And if not for 2 penalties against Denver, he has a hell of a long completion and a touchdown pass added onto what Pickens has already done this year. Like, look at Pickens' numbers. He's getting the ball. This isn't a thing about play with Pickens. Like, Pickens has played well. I think it's very much they're tired of his crap behind the scenes. But look at his numbers this year. 6 catches, 85 yards against Atlanta. Only had 2 against Denver. But again, 2 of them were called back. So we would have had 4 catches for like 85 yards and a touchdown if not for penalties. 5 for 57 against the Chargers. 7 for $113 against the Colts. And then last night when he was very clearly being disciplined for whatever reason, he had 3 catches for 26. And by the way, had a drop and showed very little effort on 2 other passes that he could have caught. Like, Fields is playing fine. I don't know where all this anti-Fields crap came. Again, it's because they've lost 2 straight games and fans are incredibly impulsive and they want to see a change after every loss. Like, no. The offense is not doing great, but look at how they're running the ball. They can't run the ball. Najee Harris isn't playing well. They can't run the ball. They're putting a lot on Justin Fields' shoulders. And by the way, he's doing a hell of a lot better than Pickett was at this point last year, which isn't a high bar, but there's been so many people saying, well, how is he different from Kenny Pickett? Well, Pickett in his first 5 games last year, 5 touchdowns, 29th in EPA, 32nd in success rate, 31st in CPOE, 33rd in EPA plus CPOE. Justin Fields right now, 8 total touchdowns, 15th in EPA, 15th in success rate, 6th in CPOE, 13th in EPA plus CPOE. He is a perfectly fine middle tier quarterback right now. He's playing fine. Every number, every metric says he's playing fine. Watching him play every snap this year, he's doing fine. Against the Chargers, he was great. Against the Colts in the second half, he was great. Yesterday, he was Even then, like, his worst game is Kenny Pickett's best game. So let's slow down on that. I'll put in Russ. What's Russ going to do? They can't run the ball. And if you're a defense, you say, okay, we know they can't run the ball. So we'll just consistently load the box and dare them to beat us over the top and send a ton of people at Russ who can't move all that well anymore. What is Russell Wilson going to do in this offense that Justin Fields can't? I'm not anti-Russ. Like, if they do play him, then cool. I'll root for Russ. But I think it would be stupid to pull Justin Fields because he hasn't played bad. Just my thoughts. Russ does not make anything better. Correct. It has been fine if you watch the take. It has literally put the offense on his back. He doesn't call. Yeah, he's played well. Roman Wilson going to play this year? Dude, I don't know. That whole thing is weird. Because he sprained the ankle in camp, and from videos I've seen of him practicing, his deceleration, man, it's not there. So my guess is, I've seen a few other people say this, I don't think he'll play this week. I think he'll play in week, what would it be, 7? This coming week is week 6. So week 7, maybe, against the Jets. Maybe. Steelers are doing him no favors. 4 drops last night. George Pickens lollygagging all over the field because he wants to pout. Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. But yeah, Fields has played. I'm not going to say he's played great throughout the season, but there's been moments where he's played great. Played great against the Chargers. Played great against the Colts in the second half. I would like to see the offense put together a complete performance. All of us would. But if you look at where he ranks right now and all of the fun little metrics and whatnot, he's ranked higher than CJ Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott in EPA plus CPOE. In adjusted EPA per play, he's right in the middle, 16th of all quarterbacks that qualify, 33. So he's playing above average. He's playing better than Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, right behind Stroud and Mahomes in that category as well. Like, he's doing fine. I'm not going to sit here and say he's, a top 5 quarterback or anything like that, but is he a top 20 quarterback? Yes. And he's showing that. He has played well. Notice that Pickens is getting fined for both the nose/eye black, and there could be a potential fine for the face. Oh, he's going to get fined for the face mask thing. I don't know if the league's going to fine him for the nose and eye black because there's an F-bomb on it. Maybe. So maybe we'll see. So non-football. Is Russell Wilson commenting on his burner account right now? Steve, if you don't like it, then fuck off. I don't know what to tell you, dude. We get a competent wide receiver opposite George Pickens. It opens up the game for George Pickens. It opens and it helps the run game. Again, dude, I'm sure that they don't want to trade him. I'm sure that that's the last thing that they wanted to do. My guess is that this is the last straw, and they've done all that they can in terms of hoping that he'll mature and hoping that they can finally get him to grow up, and they haven't. And I think that they just see it as a lost cause. If they do move him, that would be why. Is because they just say, okay, this is a lost cause. He's not going to mature. The talent is there, obviously, but we can't keep dealing with his antics. Then okay. Can we get Deontay and D-Hop? Just wondering. I mean, probably, theoretically, yeah. I don't think it would take too much to get DeAndre Hopkins. I think a day 3 pick would get you DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think that the Browns are going to trade Amari Cooper within the division. I think they're going to trade him. I don't think they're going to trade him with the Steelers. These random bots are playing on here, but I don't know, man. Some people just like bitching. And it doesn't matter what facts and stats you put in front of them. They're always going to have their predetermined notions that they're going to stick to. So, whatever. I don't care. I don't like me. They go somewhere else. So, that's just my 2 cents about it. I think that the tea leaves are telling us that the Steelers are looking to move Pickens. Because you don't intentionally leave your best player off the field in a close game. A game that can get you to 4-1 and a game ahead of Baltimore in the division. You don't intentionally not play him if it's not for disciplinary reasons and or because you're looking to move him. And I think it's a combination of both right now. I think they're tired of whatever's going on behind the scenes and they're looking to move him. So, and the lack of effort that was shown last night, don't blame them. Don't blame them a bit. Thinking of all scenarios, if not Deontay, would you be interested in D-Hop? Maybe swap for T. Higgins and more. The Bengals aren't trading T. Higgins to the Steelers. The Browns, I don't think, are going to trade Amari Cooper to the Steelers. I don't think any sort of in-division trade will happen. I think DeAndre Hopkins could be a possibility. I'm trying to think of what other guys could be available. Adam Thielen, maybe. That's kind of one of the B guys. I think DeAndre Hopkins. Devontae is the S-tier guy. DeAndre Hopkins would be an A. I think Adam Thielen would be more of a B. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of what other guys could be available. I don't think any of the Bucs guys are going anywhere because they're winning games and they look really good right now. So I don't think, I was really hot about Chris Godwin during the offseason. I don't think Chris Godwin's going anywhere. So I think that, if you look at some of these bad teams, I don't know, man. What? Even the Broncos are 3-2, but they're a bad team. If they start losing games, could you get Cortland Sutton at the deadline? Maybe, but I don't know if they're going to wait that long. There's only so many teams that are going to be looking to move receivers right now. So I think that Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins are the top 2 in terms of guys that you can realistically get that are upper echelon guys. I think Adam Thielen could be a fallback one. if you end up keeping George Pickens. But I don't think T. Higgins isn't going anywhere. I still think the Bengals are going to be a playoff team. Like they're 1-4, yeah, but like look at the rest of the AFC. The Broncos are 3-2. They're not a good team. That's not going to last. The Jaguars are 1-4. The Colts are 2-3. Jets are 2-3. Dolphins are bad because they don't have a quarterback right now. The Browns stink. Like and I just talked about it with Matt Verderam on the Pump Fake. You guys can go watch that episode. I believe it's up right now. If not, it should be shortly. So like, there's 4 teams that I would bet money are making the playoffs in the AFC right now. It's Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, Houston. Everybody else, it's a crapshoot. So I think the Bengals are going to be one of those 3 wildcard teams. They're not going to get rid of T. Higgins. Amari Cooper, he's going to get traded. I don't think it's going to be to the Steelers. Unless they blow them away with an offer, which would have to be a higher offer than any other team just because that comes with, okay, you play in our division, you're going to have to give us more. And again, it's not impossible. We've seen interdivision trades before, but I would say it's not likely. Don't get me wrong, I love Justin, but he's not ready to call his own plays like Russ is. He has to listen to that trash can Smith. Look, Russell Wilson isn't going to go out there and become Peyton Manning either. Like, I don't understand Russell Wilson isn't 2018 Russell Wilson. He's very much a watered down version of what he used to be. And again, I got nothing against Russ. Anytime I've talked to him, he's been a pretty cool guy. But right now, he's not better than Justin Fields. Fields has played well. There's no reason in my mind to make a change at quarterback. Now, do I think that they're going to? I would lean, yeah. I think they're going to start Russ this week, if I had to guess. I don't think they should. But if I had to guess, I think if once he's 100% healthy, I'm, again, just guessing. I think that they probably promised him that he would be the starter. And that's what made him sign. So they're kind of left with their hands tied. They don't want to look like liars or whatever. And whatever it may be, I do think that eventually we'll see Russ play at least a game. But I don't think that that makes sense. Does not make sense to me. Again, they can't run the ball right now. Teams can just gear up on that and say, okay, rush the quarterback, make him beat us with his arm. Russell Wilson isn't beating anybody with his feet. Justin Fields is. And Justin Fields has played well. So I don't see any reason to pull him. But just to wrap this up real quick, in terms of just my overall thoughts, if you just look at everything that happened last night, there's a reason it happened. There's a reason that George Pickens only played 34 snaps. And during those 34 snaps, he half-assed a lot of them. And I think all of this goes back to last year when a lot of drama started on social media and clearing all his stuff, throwing a fit on the field against the Patriots, having team leaders come out and say guys aren't, they're playing entitled. They don't give 100% in practice, and they think that, they can just show up and play. Like, doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who they're talking about there. So I think the Steelers have tried their best and hoped that Pickens would mature, and I don't think that he has. Therefore, I think that he's going to be traded. But it won't come without somebody else coming in. That doesn't necessarily mean that if they do get Deontay Adams, that they're trading George Pickens to the Raiders. They could, send, just draft picks to the Raiders for Deontay Adams and then trade George Pickens somewhere else. So that's just my guesses as of right now as to what happens. Deontay would cost a second. Diablo cost a third. I mean, the Raiders are asking for a second. They're not going to get that unless they eat a good number of that contract for this year. No team's going to do that unless the Raiders are like, yeah, we'll eat X amount of dollars of the cap hit and the contract and whatnot if you give us a second. Then that'll happen. Teams might pay up for that. DeAndre Hopkins, you can get DeAndre Hopkins for less than a third. I like DeAndre Hopkins, but Jerry Jeudy is playing really well this year, and he went for a pair of day 3 picks. You can get DeAndre Hopkins for a conditional 4th or 5th. I don't think it's going to take too much to get DeAndre Hopkins. Mostly because what the hell are the Titans doing this year? I don't think it's going to cost a third to get DeAndre Hopkins. But just want to come on here and give a little bit of a just my thoughts on everything. If you guys aren't already subscribed to the channel, please do that. The latest episode of the Pump Fake with me and Matt Verderamp, Sports Illustrated, should be on the channel right now. If not, it will be shortly, just recapping everything that went down on Week 5 Sunday. Enjoy Monday Night Football. Read all my work at the Sporting News and SB Nation. Just did an interview with Max Crosby. That is up right now on SB Nation. So go and read it. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, I think that's it for me. Subscribe to the channel. Do all that fun stuff. See you guys later on in the week on the Pump Fake. A little bit more Steelers stuff as well. Tune into, what's today, Monday? Tune in on Wednesday and Friday for AFC North talk as well. Me, Ace, Sonny, and Quincy breaking down everything going on in the AFC North over there. So a lot going on. Follow along with it. Appreciate y'all for watching. Enjoy your night. I'll talk to you soon.